Good morning, y'all. This is Philippe, the Learn to Grow guy. I'm back to holding the camera in my hand again. Okay. Well, that's only because I'm in a segment of the property um, as to where I just don't feel like walking all the way back to the cabin to get the tripod and try to and the 2.5 pound hammer to hold the tripod still so that I can show you what I need to show you. I'm just being lazy this morning. Okay. So anyway. Back to our video, back to our scheduled program. Okay, what I'm looking at today is care for trees. Care for some fruit trees. Okay, this one here is it's a pear tree. I believe it's a how you say here. Let me show you. It's an Ayers pear. All right, it's an Ayers pear tree, and this tree over here is another pear tree. And also remember, whenever you're dealing with trees, if you have these tags on there, loosen them up periodically because trees are growing. Okay, this one's an Orient pear. All right, and here's what I learned, and I'm trying to share with you today. Okay, now basically what happens is that when trees grow, they put out new growth. All right, that's just a given. Trees put out new growth as they grow. Okay, and typically, trees do not produce fruit on that year's growth. You're looking at your pears and you're looking at your apples, for example. They do not produce fruit on that year's growth. Usually, it's the branch that grew last year. The branch that grew last year is not going to produce fruit this year. Odds are it will not produce fruit this year because they have to develop these spurs. Okay. And on these spurs, or around these spurs, is where new fruit will grow. All right. Okay, let me try to demonstrate to you. Okay, let me try to show you. I'm trying to find a branch. Oh, okay, here's one here. Okay, this branch here grew last year. I'm sorry, probably a couple of years ago. Okay, it grew probably a couple of years ago. This is a branch that grew probably last year. Okay, and over here somewhere is where the growth terminated for what's gonna happen next year. Okay, now what you're looking for is this. This is a previous year branch. This is the one from like last year. This year, as this one did, is that it put out some of these little things called spurs. I'm not trying to get that to focus for you. Okay, I'm not trying to get it to focus. But as you can see, there are spurs on this branch. These grew this year. Okay, like for example, this branch here that started here, it was probably one of those spurs, but it grew and it became this branch. Now if you look at this branch, it has buds on it. Okay, I'm trying to get you to focus. I don't know how to get it to do that. Okay, but you can see the little buds. Okay, each of these little buds here, they may either form spurs for fruit bearing, or they may form little branches, or they may have leaves that come out of them. Okay, they may have leaves that come out of these. They may have leaves that come out of them. I'm trying to get this to focus for you. You got to use that Steve Austin, the bionic eye thing. You got to use that. There we go. There's that focus, baby. There it is. These little buds here, they may produce leaves. They may produce little spurs. We don't know. At least I don't know. Some of you may know, but they'll produce these these spurs will produce leaves, or they may produce spurs that will produce fruit. Okay, but what I'm saying is that it takes a couple of years for the stuff to happen. See, look, here's another good branch here. Okay, this branch here, for example, you can look at this here. It has spurs on it. You see the spurs? Okay, this is not this year's growth. This is previous year's growth. Here, look for the little thing here. Let's see if I can put my hand behind it. Maybe you can see it better. There we go. Using the Steve Austin bionic eye thing, right? Okay, here we go. All right, this portion here is this year's growth. And if we go down this portion here, you will not see the regular spurs. You'll see little buds like this one here. It's a bud. Okay, look at these. These are buds. This is from this year. Now, each of these buds here, they may produce leaves, or they may produce spurs to produce fruit. Okay, what they will do, we do not know. This here is a termination point. Let me see if I can. Come on, do the bionic eye thing. Focus on the hand. Okay. This end here is the termination point. This is where the new branch will grow out next year. Okay, we'll continue to grow out next year. But let's trace this back. Okay, as again, you can see this here. This is where this year's growth, this termination point right here is the same thing I just showed you a moment ago, okay? That was from last year's termination point. And from last year's termination point, you got this new branch here that started to develop and grow. Again, these buds can develop and grow into whatever it is that the tree desires. But otherwise, these are spurs. And each of those spurs, okay, that's from this year, okay? As you can probably see, I think this here may have been one of those termination spots. I think it was. No, it's not. It's not. Well, it is a little bumpy, but nevertheless, it goes back to the main tree stem. Okay. Like I said, you'll produce out the branches. All right. You'll produce out the branches. And it's out of those little spurs that you're going to get your fruit. Now, what I had been doing in previous years is that as I prune these trees, because everybody tells you, prune aggressively, prune aggressively. Okay, excuse the face. Okay, everybody tells you to prune aggressively, and so I've been doing that. What I did not know is that I was pruning away some of the trees that has the spurs, okay? I was pruning away the spurs, which is where my future fruit was going to be born. I don't know. Yeah, that's where they were supposed to, that's where they're going to emerge from the tree, but I've been pruning those away. So this year, when I do some winter pruning, I'm going to look out for those spurs. You see what I'm saying? Because in times past, I was told that in pruning, that if you find little branches that's trying to grow from underneath the branch and stuff like that, you got to cut them off. See, look, I'm going to this other pear here, which is the Asian pear. See, I'm going to show you something. See, look. See, some of the spurs come out from underneath. Some people tell you can prune whatever little branches are coming up. I thought those were branches. I did not think that they were spurs. And when I pruned them all off, I didn't realize that I was pruning away the very areas where my fruit was going to be coming out of. Okay, and in some cases, some people tell you, yeah, prune the little ones growing up on top too, like these. But again, these are spurs. This is where the fruit is going to come out of. And why would I want to do away with the fruit? You know what I'm saying? Why would I want to do away with them? But not touch the little buds or what have you. See, on this tree here, another termination point. This is new growth from this year. This portion is from this year. This portion here is from last year. And again, what do you see the spurs? You see the spurs on the growth, on the older growth. That's where you see it at. You see, and this here, excellent example here. This here, you can see that one clearly. This is the older one, and yet you still see what on it? You see the spurs on it. All right? You see what I'm saying? So in your pruning, you got to be careful. Oh, also, yeah. In your pruning, you just got to be careful. Okay, you don't want to take away the very branches that's going to produce fruit for you. Now, don't get me wrong. You can cut them off at the ends. For example, like here, for example, if you look down the road, you'll see that some of my branches are encroaching upon where the stone driveway is. So this stuff needs to be pruned. Let me try to give you another bird's eye view. See that? As you notice, these branches here, this is my driveway. Some of these branches are very close. And periodically when I'm leaving or when I'm coming home, I'll park right around here, and I had to park closer to this little ditch line that I have there so I can make sure that I'm not hitting the branches. You see what I'm saying? So I got to make sure that I prune that far enough and not at the price of spurs, because I want some fruit from this pear tree next year. Okay, I want some fruit from it. So again, in your pruning, look out for those spurs, okay? Because those spurs is where you're going to get your fruit from. Those spurs, look it up yourself, okay? Don't just take my word for it, okay? I'm just sharing with you what I learned for the past couple of days, because I keep pruning this pear tree here, okay? I keep pruning this pear tree, and every time it puts out this crazy growth, it wants to shoot straight up. Look at this here. You see that? It just shot straight up, and this is 1 year's growth, and that thing is, let me shake it for you. You see it? The one that's shaking crazy? Look at that. That thing's about 10 feet tall or more. Well, I'm short. For me, everything's tall. Okay, so that one maybe about maybe 7 feet, 8 feet tall. But nonetheless, that's what I've been getting. I would prune my tree and I would get these long things that just shoot up in the sky and such, just as you see now. I'm going to be trimming them, but yeah, if anybody knows how to get these trees to act right, to do what they need to do, that'd be perfect. But here's something else to consider, okay? One of the reasons I think that besides my crazy pruning, these trees, 3 trees here, have not flowered at all, okay? And part of the reason is, remember, fruit trees need, what is that, at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, and periodically in the summertime, they've not been getting it. So this year, when I'm doing my pruning, I have a couple of trees that I'm going to need to take down. So over there, I've got a cluster of, I forget what kind of nut trees those are. I've got a cluster of 6 of them growing over there. Odds are 3 of them will not be there next year. This pine tree here, I'm going to end up taking that down because, again, it's part of the reason why I've got some shade behind me here. And what is it? I've got 1, 2, 3 trees, right? I'm going to be taking those down. This one here makes 4. This one here makes 5, and this one here makes 6. Down the way there, this one here that's overhanging, I'm going to take that down too. So I've got at least 7 trees I got to take down. Why? Because look, these guys are in shade. I understand this is the fall, right? I understand this is the fall, but I'm going to take you up. See that? That means that these trees, and the sun is not necessarily directly overhead, or it would be like around here someplace during the summer months, is further back that way, which means that these trees here that I'm looking at needs to be cut down. Okay, so I'll be cutting these trees down. So I've got at least 7, let me see, yeah, 7 or maybe even 8 trees that I'm going to be cutting down so that I can try to ensure that I get fruit next year on these 3 lovely trees. All right, so what am I telling you? Prune wisely, my friends. Prune your fruit trees wisely. Be cognizant of the spurs, okay? Don't let them spur you. Get it? Don't let them spur. Anyway. Be cognizant. Be aware of the spurs, okay? Just be aware of the spurs when you trim your trees. When you see them, know that is where you're going to get fruit the following year. All right? Y'all take care. Blessings.